Yo guys, in today's video I'm going to go through the mixdown of this tune. Before we get started, make sure to check out the links in the description. There's my website and Patreon. Check them out if you'd like further help, sample packs and presets. So I've got the project here, but all the tracks are set to 0 volume, and what I'm going to do is go through each track, set it to the right level, go through the plugins and the post-processing, then I'm going to change all the levels until we have a perfect -6 dB mixdown. Then in next week's video I'll go through the mastering process that I did for this track. I'm going to try and leave this as uncut as possible so that you can follow exactly how I mix down. And all the little details and subconscious details that I apply to my mix down. This way you won't miss anything. Let's get into it. If you're signed up to my Patreon, you'll have access to this project template, so you'll be able to follow along exactly. However, if you don't have it, I'll just explain quickly. So I'm going to start by turning on all the drum buses. So we're just going to reset these. And that's because all the elements go through the buses before they go to the master. So if all of these were turned off, then we'd never be able to hear anything. So we're just going to turn these on, full volume to start with. And then the first thing we're going to start with is the kick drum. So I'm going to reset this kick drum, and I'm going to reset the kick group it's going through, and let's take a listen. So if we go onto the master channel, that's coming in at just under about -10 dB. And this kick drum is from my sample pack, my drum sample pack, and on here we've just got some EQ, some stereo enhancer to make it mono, and we're also making it mono on here, doubling up on the mono, and then more EQ, and then a filter that's not doing anything, and just a G clip just to stop it clipping, even though it's not, but you can never be too careful. Then it's going through the kick drum, which has a slight volume increase on it, I'm not sure why, and then it's going into the drum bus, which has a Saturn on it, a Pro L, and a sausage fattener. And then these are going into parallel compression with a Clar 2A on it, and parallel distortion, which actually has nothing on it in this track, weirdly. Normally I'd put like a Saturn on there, so I don't know why there's nothing on there. So now let's introduce the clap. So let's turn on all the clap elements. And the clap group. So as you can hear, that's really loud at the moment, so we're just going to adjust these. So let's start with the main clap. And then let's turn down the fourth clap. Turn down this one. That's starting to sound a bit better, but we don't want it to be louder than the kick. So let's keep turning it down. Something like that is fine. Now let's introduce the hi-hat. Turn the hat group on. So as you can see here, kick's the loudest, clap's the second loudest, hat's the third loudest at the moment. Now let's introduce the snare. Reset that. So we don't want the snare to be too loud either. And now we've got extras to add in. So let's add the reverb in. This has got a Valhalla room on it and an EQ, taking out any of the lows, and then various minor parts of the tracks have reverb on. So I'm not sure if many things even have reverb on this track. It really depends on the track. Oops. So this hat has a tiny bit of reverb on. But I generally always have this reverb bus at the end, and then if I ever want to apply reverb to it, I can just grab it and apply it. So let's add the cowbell. And there we have the drums. Now let's listen. We've got this little swing drum here that we're going to add in. And we want this to be quieter than the first hat. That's fine. And then we've got a percussion element here. Let's add this in. So we want that sound in the background. Around there's fine. So that's the drums done. I'll just quickly go over some of the post-processing. So in my clap, I love to use Little Spice on FabFilter Saturn. And then I sometimes use Decapitator, EQ, and then Camel Crusher as well. And then on the snare there is nothing. On the hat group there is nothing. It's really all about sample selection for those. And then we tend to just use the same sort of things. Little Spice on the solo elements, and then distortion. What have we got elsewhere? Not a lot. It's mostly just all about sample selection and then adding a little bit of saturation, distortion, EQ, just to tweak it so it fits perfectly. So let's move on to the bass. So let's get the bass sounds up. So this is the first bass. And the first thing we're going to do here is turn the bass bus down. In your mixdown, you always want the bass to be quieter than the drums. That's like an essential point that I always pick up on people not doing, especially new producers. They always just turn the bass, crank it up to full volume, and then drown the drums out. So please, please keep your bass elements quieter than the drums. We've got a lot of post-processing on this bass, and it's a bass made in Massive. This is what it sounds like without the post-processing. And then this is with the post-processing. Now I'm not going to go over the post-processing in this video as it is more about mixdown. Let me just show you the sub bass. Let's turn this on. So we've got the sub bass, oh my god, the sub bass doing a madness here, and then we've got cutting off any highs, and then we've got the bass sound here. The bass level is still below the drums. And let's add in another bass element. So this is another bass, and it's just a sample I found with loads of post-processing on again. And then the essential part to get these sounding even better is bass reverb. So another Valhalla room, and then another EQ. And then if we turn this up, you'll see the difference. This is what it sounds like without. And this is what it sounds like with. Very subtle, but it does make a difference. So that is the bass and the drums done. And let's check the master volume. So as you can see, it's hitting -6 dB. And it won't go any higher than that really, once I add in all the elements. And if it does, you can always reduce the master volume. So moving on to the vocals. Let's introduce the vocal. So as you can see, the vocals are slightly quieter than the bass. Normally I tend to have them around the same volume as the bass or the instruments, and then I play it by ear. So in this case they've gone slightly quieter on this channel than the bass, but it still sounds good. Now let's add in another element. So as you can hear, that is way too loud, so let's turn that down. That's better. And then we've got another bit here, which is just the vocal with delay on it. So let's turn this up. As you can see here, I have got a delay bank on it. And then we've got our reverb channel again at the end here. The main vocal is going through it. So that's the vocals done, very simple. And then we have the instruments, which are also simple. So let's turn these up. So notice the volume on the instrument bus here, not going louder than the drums, staying at around the same volume as the bass and the vocals. That's all does. That's all the instrument elements done. Notice also how simple this track is. Like, very simple. Not very many elements at all. Now let's reset all these effects and then figure this out by ear for the last bit. So I'll just play it through and then I'll change it accordingly. Let's listen to it again. One more time. Now that's peaking at around -5. So what we can do, if we're being really picky, is we can reduce all these by about 10%. So that by 10%, that by 10%, that by 10%. See how much control we have just by adding these buses? This by 10%. And then the instruments by 10%, and then if we play it now, and that's peaking at -6, which is perfect. And that's the mix sound done. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what other videos you'd like to see from me, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take it easy.